So at 8 p.m. last night, we received an email informing us that Louis Segarra and Robert Sullivan will not be here today because of a previous engagement. On behalf of the Peekskill NAACP, I want to thank you for being here today. The mission of the NAACP is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons and to eliminate race-based discrimination. We are a nonpartisan association. Let me say that again. We are a nonpartisan association. One of the Civic Engagement Committee's focus here in Peekskill is to encourage people to participate in the democratic process. This is why we're here today. Based on the 2010 census of Peekskill, there are approximately 21,000 eligible voters, of whom approximately 11,241 are registered. Voter turnout from the mayoral election in 2015 was under 4,000. When the Board of Education last held elections, 525 people voted. I spent a few minutes looking at close elections on Wikipedia. Sometimes one vote decides the election for a member of town council or district attorney. The US voter turnout is lower than the turnout in most other countries which hold elections. Why is this? How did we get to where we held our future children's and our grandchildren's future in such low regard? What would it take for you to persuade someone you know who didn't vote last fall to vote this fall? I know I'm preaching to the choir, but even the choir can take it up a notch. I invite you to be present today, like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. Listen carefully, ask questions. Before you leave today, go to the table in the back, sign our pledge cards. This is your commitment that you will vote in the primaries and election. Come out and join us on election day. Get a lift to your polling site or give one to someone in your community. It's true what Martin Luther King Jr. said. Our life begins to end the day we become silent about things that matter. Voting matters because each of us matter. Now, it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Wilbur Aldridge. Mr. Aldridge is best known in Rockland as the NAACP's regional director. He fought segregation in Greensboro, North Carolina, where he participated in sit-ins at lunch counters designated for whites only. He's here today to moderate the Peekskill NAACP Candidates Forum. Without further ado, Mr. Aldridge. Thank you.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me? Okay, it's early in the morning, so I don't hear well or think too well early in the morning. So I will do the best I can moderating at this hour. Let me say that it's a pleasure to be back in Peekskill again. I haven't been here in a while. And there was no reason for me to come because the branch functions so well that I just really have to monitor what's happening. I don't have to have a physical presence in this particular area. That does not mean that I only come when there's a problem. I come when it's not. But anyway, it's great to be here. It's great to see these candidates here. Let me go into the rules that we're going to follow, and if anyone knows anything about me, I believe in following the rules. Even those that I don't particularly like, I still follow the rules. And I'm going to ask both the candidates and the audience to adhere to the rules. If you do not, I will let you know that you are not following the rule, okay? And that will be without prejudice. All right, each candidate will be asked questions. Some of them have been predetermined. Some of them will be generated by the audience. Candidates will answer the questions directed to him or her. It will be at the moderator's discretion to move to a new question or to ask the same question of the remaining candidates. Audience questions will be given to the moderator as soon as they have been vetted and approved by a group of people from the NAACP in the back. Because we have limited time, we will not take statements from the audience, only questions. That means anything that you give to the people in the back must be in the form of a question, not a statement. Audience questions must take priority over the predetermined questions. So if there is an audience question, I will ask the audience question and leave the predetermined question for either later or not ask it at all, depending upon how it goes. Now, to the candidates, you can take your time, answer the questions, but in most instances, you will be given at least 2 minutes. Now, you can take that 2 minutes and pontificate on the world affairs, or you can answer the question. But at the end of the 2 minutes, you have finished and used your allotted time for that question. Everybody understands that, right? So when I say time, it's time. I'm not going to be keeping the time. We have a time person, Madeline, who will let me know when it's near. She will give a 1 minute warning. Just say 1 minute, Madeline, and they know that they only have a minute to finish. At the end of that minute, stop. I don't care if it's mid-sentence or not. I will try and let you finish. But, if it's not, life moves on. One of those. So use your time wisely. Any questions from anyone before we start? Be that I'm talking questions of me before we start, so that I don't have to invoke moderator privilege. Okay, I've just been told when you've done writing your question, hold them up, and this young lady will come and collect your question. Okay? Okay, so we're going to start with each candidate, since 2 of the people chose not to be here, which should say something to all of you. We're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to introduce themselves and tell why they are running to be elected to the office that you're running for. Okay, we will start with Mr. Smith. Everyone, pull it closer.
How about now? See, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I would especially like to thank the Peekskill chapter of the NAACP for hosting this event, as well as the staff here at the Field Library for helping to set it up. Like many of you, I am a lifelong Peekskill resident. I'm also a proud Peekskill resident. I went to school here. I got my first job here. I found my first love here, and still today, I happily call Peekskill my home. I am an attorney and a small business owner with offices right in town. My areas of practice mainly include criminal defense, bankruptcy, and divorce. I've been a member of the Peekskill City School Board since 2012, including 2 years as board vice president and 1 year as president of the school board. I believe that education is the key to our success, and so a thriving school district lies at the center, in my opinion, of all progress and growth. I also believe that robust development is the key to our city's success. If elected to the Common Council, I will fight for measured tax growth that stays beneath the state-mandated cap, better services for seniors, smart economic development and expansion, job creation, and housing that is affordable. I will demand that transparency and accountability from our officials. These are the building blocks of a brighter future for Peekskill, and I hope that you give me the opportunity to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the NAACP to bring this opportunity to talk about why I decided to running for City Council. And one of the big issue that I decide to run and involvement in politics is because our country is changing, and it's changing in the wrong direction. I am a father of 3 kids, 2 teenagers. They graduated from the Peekskill High School, and my little one, she's only 3 years old. And I don't believe that she had to be in this part of the history that we're living in the whole country. I am a community person. That's what I do. I service in my church, in Assumption Church. I was a leader for a couple times for the Hispanic Charismatic Group. I go to bring the community to the sick people some Sundays when they cannot go to the church. Some seniors, disability, they cannot go to the church. Even I went to the county jail to do some spiritual service to some people. I believe that everyone has a new opportunity. I don't believe that the people, when they make mistake, that's gone for the whole life. And talking about, again, to my daughter, November 8th, it was a very, very, very huge decision for I decide to run and then get involved in politics. Here in Peekskill, we need to do the same change and think about it first and the service that we deserve to the people. The city need to deserve service. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's very important that we are civically engaged and knowing what's going on in our community in order to affect the change that we want to see. My name is Vannessa Agudelo, and I want to serve all of you as your next city councilwoman. Now, I've grown up here in Peekskill. I've lived here in Peekskill my whole life, and I've always been very involved with the community as a little girl. I've taken full advantage of the Parks and Rec, different athletic programs on a seasonal basis. I've served, I've volunteered for the Drum Hill Senior Living Community as a little girl. And after college, I came back home with the purpose of wanting to make a difference in my community. I've seen corruption on a national level, on a state level, and on a local level, and I realized that the best way to affect the change you want to see is to start local, especially in a place that you know and that you love. And I truly believe that Peekskill is the greatest city in the Hudson Valley, and I can say that honestly. I think that Peekskill has everything you need right here. I mean, from its growing artist community, and you walk into these galleries and you'll find something different. You won't ever feel like you're seeing the same thing. To its growing business, its thriving and bustling downtown, to its parks, which are a unique aspect to such an urban area such as Peekskill. And of course, the diversity in our community members, which I believe is the biggest resource that we have here. And at the end of the day, the reason why I'm running is because of you all, because I want to represent you the best way that I feel like you deserve. And I think that we as a slate, we all come from different backgrounds. We all come from different expertise. I mean, I'm sure you can all read my bio. I'm part of the Conservation Advisory Council. I've been very involved with different environmental and social justice issues, not only just here in Peekskill, but nationally.
Okay, we're going to start with the next question going to Vannessa. How do you pronounce your last name?
Agudelo.
Okay. I'm not. If it's not Smith, Jones, or Aldrich, I got difficulty with it. Okay. So the question is, and remember, 2 minutes. So get it all in quick.
Sorry.
What measures would you take to increase the participation of Peekskill residents in decision-making in our city?
Well, so we've all seen the changes the amazing changes down at the riverfront. And before those changes were made, there was actually a workshop in this very room where the community was invited in to collaborate on the different ideas on what they wanted to see happen in the riverfront. down by the Hudson River. And these are the kind of collaborations that we need. We need to put on more workshops. We need to hold a public space where we are listening to you all on what your vision is for Peekskill. I mean, it's absolutely very important to be bringing in people from other areas so we can grow our economy, but it's also important that we serve the people that live here first. So of course, I think that it's very important that we update the software, the way that we communicate with our residents, starting with City Hall. I think that it's very outdated, and I think that just by making a few changes, even with the website, the way that we put out our updates, I think that also collaborating with organizations such as the NAACP and all the different organizations that are doing amazing things in the city, getting them involved. These are the ways that we're going to get all the different niches, all the different communities that live here in Peekskill feeling like this city really serves them and like they really hold a stake in its future. And I think that's one of its, I think that I truly believe that this community building, or even having community potlucks, or days where we celebrate the diversity in our community, having a UN Day, for example, where we can all put our cultures on display and share awareness of our backgrounds. These are all ways we can learn and understand each other and grow to love each other more. And I think that it's this becoming a bit more tight-knit. I think that that's really what's going to unlock Peekskill's true potential.
Thank you. Let's ask that same question of Mr. Fernandez.
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, what measures would you take to increase the participation of Peekskill residents in the decision-making of our city?
Well, I think that I was talking when I started, that we need to improve the service in the city. One of the bigger issue, my colleague just mentioned it, that we need to improve the communication. Unfortunately, we don't have it here, radio station, local newspaper, or TV programs. And then sometimes when the city or any kind of organization like a WCC, whatever, they bring something very interesting and something that's good for the city, for the citizen, the people, they don't know what's going on. Usually, we are working in the Peekskill Hispanic Community Court and try to bring a lot of information to the resident through the Facebook group that we got. We almost have like 5,000 followers over there. And we try to build a bridge between the Hispanic community and all residents here. When you got like a WCC, they bring some information about some kind of training about business improvement and something like that. We try to promote that, but unfortunately, the majority of the residents here, they don't have that information. So the city need to improve the communication about everything that's what's going on in the city, and try to build that communication between the school district and all that kind of organization and government agencies. So that's, I think, is one of the very big issues that we need to improve here in Peekskill. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, the same question.
You know, I suppose one of the disadvantages of being the last one to answer a question is that they've already said pretty much everything I was thinking about saying. So I don't have much to say, but I do have some things to build on. I believe that building partnerships throughout the community is kind of the backbone of moving along the lines of the question of how do you get more in community participation in the decision-making process. As a member of the school board, we've worked a lot in the community through the administration, through the superintendent's office, to build partnerships in the community for the purpose of increasing parent participation, which of course has a direct impact on student achievement, And any number of events or I should say measures that we're attempting to initiate. It's always a matter of us, and the model is consensus building. I think that the same approach, I would take the same approach as a member of the Common Council. I'd first want to see what partnerships are there? What organizations are out there that are designed to, increase community participation? How well are they working? Who are they catering to? Who do they have involved? What's lacking? Which segments of the community do we need to reach out to more? And really just go from there. But the key is, is building those partnerships, being transparent, and demanding accountability from our city officials, and also giving them the support that they need to do the job of reaching out to people and really finding out what the residents need and how best to bring them in the process. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Fernandez, what are some thoughts or opinions on DACA and how it impacts, if at all, our school district?
What are you talking about, DACA? What are you talking about? DACA, okay, no problem, sorry.
Okay.
Well, I think this is a big issue that we are talking about and impact the school district now. Unfortunately, our federal administration now need to bring more humanized, because many of those kids, they don't have the full, what is the immigration status that they have now here. There are good kids, like 95% of the kids, they go to college, they have a job. 99% of the kids, they don't have a criminal record in any way. And that kids, they are from here. Some of the kids, they don't speak another language than English. And some people, they say they had to go back to the country. That movement, the Dreamers, in my view, that remember the movement that we have in the 60s. It's almost like 54 years ago, the Martin Luther King Jr. say, I have a dream. And they take that dream and they change the view for the whole country. And I believe in that kind of situation. When the people, they organize and they decide to do change, that's what I wanted to bring here in Peekskill. And I support them, and I feel the same feel they have. Because I born in U.S., but I grew up in another country, and I had to learn another language. Very hard, but I am American like every American citizen here in this country, in this room. And I have the same feel that they have. It's hard when somebody tells you that you're not from here, but you are from here. And you have all that right. Thank you.
Okay. This question is specifically for two of the candidates, not for all. Actually, if you would like to answer that same question, we can do that. Is there anything that either candidate would like to add pertaining to the DACA question?
I mean, I would very
Okay.
shortly. I mean, I think it's ridiculous, the fact that kids who came over here, and some of them not by their own will, who have grown up here, who have lived here, got an education here, speak English, and as my running mate just said, sometimes they don't even speak their parents' native language. I mean, these are the exact kind of immigrants that Trump said he supported when he was running for election, and these are the type of people I went to school with. I'm very grateful to for my parents are immigrants from Colombia. I'm first generation Colombian American, so I have that safety of being an American citizen that was born here. But I think that DACA could really take away what's been given to this community, because at the end of the day, we are all immigrants, and we need to make sure that we are supporting and protecting those who are most vulnerable at this time. Thank you.
Yes, I just would also briefly add that to me, it doesn't seem as there's any rational basis for rescinding the DACA that as it was enacted under the Obama administration. There's no imminent threat to our society based of these the childhood arrivals. If anything, studies have shown that these children, or now adults, many of them have added to the to the character of our communities, have added to growing the economy, and I think that it's just another measure by the current administration that fits this narrative of we want to get rid of the immigrants and the outsiders, and so I think it's very important for us, or it's important to me at least, to resist that type of ideology and resist it as vigorously as possible. Thank you.
Okay. This question is specifically for Mr. Fernandez. Is this your first political seat, and what experience do you bring?
Well, like I say, I grew up in Dominican Republic, and my family over there was involved in politics. When I was so younger, like 17 years old, I was the president for the youth, for one of the big, largest parties in Dominican Republic. And honestly, this is my first experience involved in try to get a public or official election. It is. But my experience here, that's why I want to try to say. I am a small business owner. I am car owner operator in Rio Taxi here in the city. I know every single street about Peekskill. I know where there are real problems in Peekskill. I know where there are good things in Peekskill and how we need to keep it that. But I get involved in many community organizations as a co-founder. I am team person that I like to work with communities. So we create the Peekskill Youth Soccer Club 5 years ago. Maybe many of you guys know the Dominican Republic is a baseball producing place. I never play soccer, but my kids, they love soccer. And I find the right parents, the right friends, they can teach and they can work. Even I had to learn, and I was coaching. We have, in 5 years, 4 titles in the league. That's what we need to bring here. We need to bring the pride that we are from Peekskill. I can't imagine how the Peekskill football team, they had to play in 2 softball court here in Peekskill, and they don't play in right football, soccer field. I mean, football field, soccer field that we can use it for lacrosse too. So we need to work and improve everything. Thank you.
Mr. Aldridge?
Yes.
I apologize. May I follow up with a 10-second comment?
Yes.
Mr. Fernandez did run for the Peekskill City School Board in 2015, and he did receive a great deal of support in his effort for that. So he failed to mention that. I just wanted to remind him of that.
Thank you.
And he's been very actively involved in the community. Thank you.
Okay, you just disrupted his modesty.
I don't have
Okay.
the right time to say many things.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Smith. How would you change the running of the Common Council to be more effective, or do you think there needs to be a change?
Excuse me. I think that I mean, the running of the Common Council is a process that I'm not as familiar with yet as I would like to be. But if I could recommend, or at least suggest some changes, I think one of them would be to try and bring to the council a more of a measured attitude with respect to public discussions, with respect to sometimes, and I'm trying to be careful here not to criticize our sitting council members, because as a school board member, I understand that being in the public arena like that is not always an easy task. But I think that there's certainly a level of civility and respect for other council members, as well as members of the public, that isn't always adhered to in the current setting. So I guess one of my goals would be to just really try and do my part in making it more amenable in that respect.
Okay. Vannessa, the same question.
So, yes, just to follow up with what my running mate said, I think that there's been a lot of great things that the city council has done, and the city council members in the past have done to move the city forward. But I do feel as though, or I wish that I would see a bit more transparency. Sometimes you walk into these city council meetings and it's a bit orchestrated. It's kind of a show, and sometimes it feels as though people go there kind of to watch the drama unfold, and that's not what city governing is about. Not at all. It's about making sure that we are prioritizing our community the best way possible, and that goes back to small resolutions that make a difference, but not only just passing these resolutions, but making our community aware of the resolutions that are being passed, educating them about what they mean and how they can impact our community in a positive manner, and kind of engaging people more to feel as if they're really part of this community. I think that that lack of feeling like this city government serves you, I think that we could all resonate with that. And I would love to see, and I know that this is kind of a political gathering right now, and we're here all for the purpose of the primary, but if and when I get elected to city council, I am going to collaborate with all the members of that council. I don't plan on playing these games with just my team. It's about collaboration. It's about working together and building those relationships, not only with the people you sit next to, but with all the different city agencies, the departments, empowering our bureaucracy, empowering the coalitions. We have these different city organizations that are doing so much great work, and bringing them into the fold so that they can feel as if they are a stakeholder in this community. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let me go to, this question is for all three, but let me go to Mr. Fernandez first. How would you improve the diversity in the city offices and agencies in the city of Peekskill?
I think maybe that question, it was one of my bigger friends did it, because I can talk about experience about the diversity. Like I say, as a member for the Peekskill Hispanic community, we work here together with NAACP, BCC, Papas, Community Heard Boys, and another organization to create a forum here in Peekskill, the Peekskill Hate-Free Zone. I got that experience, and I got that feeling that we need to bring the diversity to every single department. I was lobbying in the city hall through that organization to bring a student from the high school, senior student, to make community hour service. The idea to that thing is they can bring better service even to the people, the Spanish people speaker here. They can do it for free, any kind of interpretation, any kind of translation. And that younger kids, they can have the opportunity to show when they're gonna apply for college, they did a good service and it has a very nice community service and they can have a good scholarship. That's the deal, that's the whole. In the future, when all the kids, they can go not only to be an interpreter and translator, they can work in each department, and that kids in 20 years, they're gonna have the experience. They're gonna feel they are proud for being a Peekskillian, and they're gonna do better job that we're having from now. So I think that we're gonna start for that one.
Okay. Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith, same question.
So I concur with the statement of my running mate, and I would also say that I think it's for many reasons, historical and otherwise, it's only right and appropriate to have a city staff or city offices that reflect the diversity of our citizenry. We see this in many different jurisdictions and municipalities. I know as a member of the school board, we have tried to enact, I don't want to say a policy, but it's been my opinion and my goal as a school board member to try and in our efforts at recruitment for staff, for administrators, for teachers, to try and make sure that we have employees that reflect the diversity of our student body, of our family communities. And I think that the same concept, the same principle should also apply over at City Hall. So I would work towards that end. Thank you.
Ms. Fernandez. Vannessa, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So my first job out of college was actually as a clerk for the town of Somers in the planning department, the planning and engineering department. So I've kind of seen the inside of small local town bureaucracy.
Okay.
And I've seen how resources are kind of wasted because the software, or we're just not technologically advanced enough to kind of streamline a lot of projects that could easily be done had that software be implemented and in place. And I think that update in our software, in our technology, would play a huge deal and would really bring us to an advantage. I also feel like we need to we need to understand that, first of all, this city is run by the city manager. And I think that the city manager now has taken on more hats than he really should be because of certain dysfunction that arises at times. And I think that it's the job of the council to empower and give our city staff and our city manager the tools to do their job and to do their job effectively. So I think that working in collaboration with our city staff, with our city manager, and also creating a plan for the future, not just for the next 4 terms that we would be serving, or for creating a real plan, so that way, even if people fall off the council, if people are some people come into the seat and may have different views, at the very least there's an ending goal that we can all agree on. And I think that having that goal would really put us in a position to advance and move more effectively, efficiently, without spending so much money and time and resources on all this stuff that ends up falling through the cracks. Thank you.
None of you really answered the question. Let me ask it again. I will give each of you 1 minute to answer it. What would you do to improve the diversity in city offices and agencies? Not looking at what it is, what will you do to improve it? Starting with, well, they just gave me this, Miss Agudelo. Okay, since they didn't like me calling you Vannessa. So I'm going back, I'm gonna do this. Agudelo, Miss Agudelo, what would you do to improve?
I apologize, I misheard the question. So what would I do to improve the diversity of City Hall? Well, I agree that we are a very diverse community, and I believe that our city staff need to reflect that diversity. Another thing that we would love to, and I think that I'd love to implement is maybe our city staff should be residents of Peekskill. Maybe they should be living right here. That way they know because their jobs are affecting all of us on a day-to-day basis. And if they're walking away, going to other towns, to other cities, it doesn't impact them as much. They don't have as much of a stake in these issues. So I think that would be a great initiative that I would love to see implemented.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez.
Maybe I couldn't explain very well what I tried to say, but one of the bigger problems here in Peekskill is that we don't have many people involved in many areas in the community. When you go and see the meeting in the Common Council, when you go to a school board meeting, you maybe see 3 people every single meeting. And that people is the same people that give an opinion. It's unusual when you see a crowd. So when I say get involved from young people, get involved there and as some volunteer and participate, and then we don't have to be planned only for tomorrow. We need to do a plan for larger term. So that young people, they're gonna get involved. And when you bring in that a student from the school, we got over there the real diversity. And like my partner said, we need to create some regulation to every single member has to be first Peekskill resident. Thank you.
Mr. Smith.
I would just add, my one thing that I would do to try and improve the diversity in the city staff would be targeted recruitment, which takes into account all of these factors, Peekskill residents, and specifically with an eye towards communities that are underrepresented and or underserved by in our community, and as reflected in the city staff, to really increase the diversity and increase the opportunities for our residents here in Peekskill. I think it's fair. It's the right thing to do, and when you have people who actually when you employ people who have a stake in the community who live here, I think it's just going to increase the effectiveness, the efficiency, and the buy-in of the staff.
Thank you. We're going to move to an economic question at this point. Do you see bringing in a large chain store or keeping small businesses as the way to go here in Peekskill? That question can go to, let's start with Mr. Smith. I don't think I started with you lately, so Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Aldridge. So the question was, do I think bringing in a large chain store or keeping small businesses is good for Peekskill?
A way to go, yeah.
A way to go.
The way
okay.
to go.
I'm a big proponent. I'm a small business owner, so I'm a proponent of small businesses. I like the fact that in recent years we've seen growth in that area throughout the city. I think we could see a lot more. I'd like to see a lot more development of small businesses. We've done a good job, in my opinion, growing the downtown area, but there's other areas of Peekskill that lie vacant that that would probably it would probably be a better fit for small businesses as opposed to chain stores. Large, retailers like, for example, Washington Street, Once upon a time, Washington Street was a haven for small businesses. It's not so much anymore, but there's a good deal of development that could be done down there. Small businesses creates, a lot of small businesses will create as many jobs as, one big chain store. And again, small business owners tend to be more local. So I think that, they have a greater stake in the community. And it just, Peekskill we're a small city, but, it's still a place where, a mom and pop shop can really thrive and do well here. And I think adds to the small town feel. So I'm a proponent, I think, more for small businesses. That said, I am not opposed to larger establishments or chain stores when appropriately vetted for their fit in the community, and of course, appropriately placed with respect to infrastructure and so forth. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez.
Like I say, I am a small business owner too, and I think one of the very experience that Peekskill has in from a couple years. I remember when I just came here in 2006, Main Street, it was look like a dead town, but we got a lot of renovation, sidewalk, lights, and everything. And now you see almost every single commercial space they are with business now. My colleagues say we need to work by Washington. We need to work in different places that we still have empty space. And the good thing is small business help to everyone. If you are an investor and you have a space for rent, it's not the same thing when you got only one largest corporate, and then they're gonna invest in their own land and everything. So I'm not against that because they can bring a lot of opportunity for job. So we know that we had to keep it a balance for that thing. But in April, when I heard the statement for the city, there was something that paid my attention a lot of things. I heard that word like, it's good when the local government and the private sector work together. Yeah, it's right. There is danger when the local government give it a privilege to the friends, and then you only go and benefit your friends. No, we have to be transparent. We have to give the opportunity to every single person, every single resident, every single investor that want to come here and buy a home and then start a business, interpreter. So that's the deal that we have to work and keep it in Peekskill. Thank you.
Ms. Agudelo.
So I absolutely agree with my running mates. I am a huge supporter of small businesses. I believe that is truly what makes any city or town so special, is having a small business that you can't find anywhere else. So absolutely, but the truth is, and the reality is that we have a lot of storefronts that are unutilized, that are empty. We have a lot of underdeveloped areas. We've forgotten about Lower South Street. We've forgotten about Washington Street. There's areas that we do need to see a growth and development. And I would love to see small businesses take up that initiative. And I believe that we as city council members should empower them and give them the tools and resources to do so and help them through that process on how to be able to start a small business. But with that being said, I think that there's also a balance. I'm not against chain stores only if they are meeting the needs that haven't already been met here in Peekskill. I'm not looking to run any small businesses out of our city. I'm not looking to destroy anyone's livelihood, but if there is a chain store that meets the needs of this city in a way that hasn't been met before and can provide jobs, then I'm absolutely for that. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to move to a health-related question at this point. One of the requirements of every municipality, including Peekskill, is to ensure that the city meets all ADA requirements. That includes wheelchair accessibility. What will you do if elected to ensure that the city of Peekskill meets this requirement? I'll give that question to all three of you, starting with Ms. Fernandez. I'm sorry, I keep wanting to make you Mrs. Fernandez. I don't know what your wife will think of that. Ms. Agudelo.
So, well, if you take a walk down the downtown or even outside the outskirts of the downtown area, our sidewalks, I mean, I've heard a lot of complaints about the sidewalks. I've heard from a lot of some of our disabled community members that it's not easy for them to walk down the street. And I think that an important initiative that I would love to bring to the city of Peekskill is sidewalk improvement districts, where the burden of fixing your sidewalk in front of your property is not just solely on you, but by dividing the city into districts where everyone within that district pays a small amount on a yearly basis to hire engineers to fix your sidewalks would make a huge difference. And I also believe that this would allow the city to thrive and would alleviate a lot of the litter. I think that by having walkable streets, would alleviate the parking problem we have in the downtown area. And there's actually, and as I was canvassing, knocking on doors, I've seen some areas, the area of Finktown, a lot of you might be familiar with that, do not have curb cuts. So, and they're right next to the what do you call them? The parking spots for disabled people. Right next to these parking spots, there are no curb cuts. How are these people that are walking in wheelchairs supposed to get on the sidewalk? And actually, this is right over by Mount Olivet Church. So I think that by taking a good look at our streets and what we don't have, and then fixing that would be a task that we would love to take on. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez, anything you'd like to add to that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question is, you would do that right in the middle of my moving on to another question. The question is, every municipality is required to be ADA compliant. How would you ensure that the city of Peekskill meets that requirement?
Thank you. Well, like my colleague said, in my experience as a taxi driver too, we have a lot of people disabled that we had to bring service, and there's a lot of area that we need to go and improve that. I can mention one simple thing, by the health center. There's a lot of people to go there, and I don't understand why the city can take one or two the meter span and just say specific that space to the people. They can go in and they can go out there any kind of car. It's really dangerous when you go there and you drop off on someone disabled people and you had to stop doing double parking between trucks and everything, and that people they are in really dangerous situation, even the drivers. So I don't understand sometimes, and we have a meeting before that when the renovation it was in time for the new health center now, and we talk about that, and they say, oh, we're gonna take care about that, and I didn't see that kind of thing. When you go at the bus stop, it's almost the same thing. When you got at the snow, sometimes it's not like a plow and clean on time. There are a lot of people to need to give a better service, and I think we're gonna work in that area. If I mention about the bus shelter, that's another issue. How can be waiting for the buses? So we need to work in that many issues of that. Thank you.
Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith.
No, I have nothing to add.
Okay. All right. The next question is, the Peekskill School District has received the My Brother's Keeper grant. How would you personally, if elected, build a partnership with mentorship programs with the school district? Let's go with Mr. Smith.
I think that partnership between the school district and the city is essential. And one of my goals, if I'm elected to council, is to ensure that that partnership is developed, that cooperation is grown. There's a lot of ways that the city and the school district can collaborate. And when you talk about, for example, the My Brother's Keeper program, we have other programs as well between the police department and the school district, between the Common Council and the school district. I think there's many initiatives that add to just the overall educational experience for the students, as well as adding to the richness and the diversity of the city. One particular area that I would like to see more cooperation is providing opportunities for our young people, our adolescents, our older adolescents, and to some extent even our younger 20-somethings. We have a number of young people in Peekskill who don't have access to opportunities that young people do elsewhere. And we have a youth bureau, and they work. They do a lot of good work in the community. And there are other initiatives that have been put forth by the city to address this issue. But we have a very vibrant school district. We have a lot of capable administrators and teachers, and a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of community volunteers who are definitely eager and willing to to volunteer their time and to build that partnership to make the city a better place, particularly for our young people.
Okay. Ms. Agudelo, I'm sorry, no questions from the audience. If you have a comment, speak to one of the people in the back, and they will take your question and get it to me. Ms. Agudelo.
So I absolutely agree that building a better relationship with the school district and the city council is crucial. Again, canvassing, knocking on doors, getting to know my neighbors, I've learned a lot about the issues. I've actually spoken to a young girl who graduated from high school a year back, and she said she had an internship downtown where one of the restaurants had her cutting onions all day. These are not skills that are going to empower our students to want to build careers. So I believe that we should develop more of a centralized curriculum for these internships, but also provide areas of growth within our own bureaucracy. I think that maybe having some of our youth shadow some of the different department leaders, whether it be DPW, so they know what it's like to work and how the city functions on a day-to-day basis, or shadowing the planner, or even creating youth seats within our agencies. I sit on the Conservation Advisory Council, but I would love to see these councils and boards expand to have youth seats, so the youth can also take part in the different issues for these different agencies, and so they can feel as though they are truly involved in that decision-making process, and that is truly going to empower them to want to do, either continue to serve this community the way it deserves, or to do that in their future when they go off to college. This is a great experience that I think that would allow our youth to grow. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez.
Well, I am very proud to be one part for the organization who signed the initiative for the President Obama. that try to keep the young men people in the school. When I was president for the Peekskill Hispanic Community Group, and the former superintendent, Dr. David Fine, he introduced that. I love this guy. He did a lot of change here in Peekskill. And really, really, there was a good initiative because I have that experience when we work in the Peekskill Youth Soccer Club. We have a son of the volunteer who was a mentor for one of the players who has really problem in his family. The domestic violence, his parent, between his parent, his mother was a single mother, and then he repeat with his mother in the street the same violence. And then he went to the correction, younger correction. Then one of the coaches, he took that kid and say, no, this is my kid. I pay for him. I keep it. Now this kid is 16 years old. He's going to the high school. And because he loved one sport, he keep it there. And that's what I think that we can keep in every area. Some kids, they want to be artists. They want to be many different things. And we need somebody take it, be like a mentor and keep it in the school. I have it in my family, the majority for women, my two daughters, my wife, and my son. I can see many of the young girls, they graduate more with high score than the young men. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith, did you have anything you want to say on this, or did you start it?
I
I'm
started.
getting confused here
That's
now.
okay.
Okay, you started it. Fine. We are going to wrap this session up, but I do have one question that I need each of you to answer. 2 minutes. Don't pontificate, because I will cut you off, like I said, because we got to move on. Okay, the question is, what do you consider to be the most critical issue facing Peekskill today? And what are your top 3 priorities that you will focus on during your term in office if elected? Starting with Ms. Agudelo.
I would say that the safety of this community is the absolute biggest priority that we all have. And we see how climate change is really hurting us all over the world. So I believe that by creating sustainable solutions, thinking long term, I mean, I don't know if some of you have looked at the city website, but our crisis plan is pretty much evacuation. We don't have a plan for what we do after a crisis happens. So I think that we need to start thinking long term, being proactive, offering those solutions, and also thinking sustainably, moving in a more greener direction, bringing in renewable energy. I mean, we spearheaded the Solarized Peekskill campaign through the CAC, and I think that bringing in more solar, even having a solar farm here in Peekskill would not only increase jobs, but it would lower our utilities if we did move into public utility, but it would also allow us to have a better environment overall. I mean, we're home to the Wheelabrator, which is the #1 polluter in Westchester County, where pretty much all the county burns all their garbage. Right here in Peekskill, our asthma rates are high, you know, and these are things we have to consider because these are our kids, our future. So I think that finding solutions to how we can alleviate these carbon emissions, these pollutants, need to take precedent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fernandez.
I think the bigger issue that we need to bring change in the city hall is the 2 words that I love from the private sector. It's, and sometimes the public sector, they don't want to use it. is about customer service. Because when you see all the social media group and you have a lot of complaints and you heard that word, oh no, that happened in Peekskill for 30 years ago. That happened in Peekskill for 20 years ago. And there's a big excuse to don't do nothing to resolve that problem. I think we need to go there and resolve the problem. The residents need answers. So one of the bigger issues here in downtown is the parking lot. We have a lot of problems for the small business, for the people who want to go and shopping and whatever they want to go there. We don't have a parking space. And now it's very, very high to pay for that. The increase for that meter is almost like a 400%. When we pay for 6 minutes, 1 nickel, and now we had to pay 25 cents. It's almost like a 400% for the increase. And the another issue is about the recreation. If you go to every single playland in Peekskill for the young people, they need a lot of improve. The family, when the grandpas, they come in, the grandkids, they come in to visit or the grandpas, and they want to go to the park, there are no safety park. Whether somebody want to play tennis, they're not really a good score. And when the almost like 1,200 people resident here play soccer, and the city doesn't have a single field for offer soccer, and every single park has a sign and say, don't play soccer. So we need to think about it for our residents. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't know that I have a single most important issue, but I certainly have three that I could say are probably, in my opinion, the most pressing. And that would be opportunity for our young people. We talked before about the relationship between the school and the city, and that's directly related to having opportunities for our youth. I think that economic opportunity, particularly for our local residents, particularly minority-owned businesses here in Peekskill, I would like to see encouragement and development of those in the downtown area as well. I think it's great to have people here, whether they live within or without the community, that are coming in here, investing in Peekskill, creating jobs, making money. But I think it would also be great if we can encourage entrepreneurship as well as business development among members of our own community. And I think that there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of resources out there, and I think we should come up with creative ways to tap into those. Did I give three? Was that two? Okay, and education. I know the city doesn't directly have any an involvement with the school district in terms of decision making, but coming from the school board, I want to see better cooperation between the district and the city in a way that's going to benefit students, in a way that's going to benefit young people, in a way that's going to benefit our residents, in a way that's going to help better our school district. Better school districts means better property values. It helps everybody, and that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have one final question, and that's my prerogative to ask this particular question. But let me say first, as the world witnessed in Charlottesville, Virginia, earlier this summer, sadly, hatred, intolerance, and bias continues to fester in our nation. We need to stop the bigotry, prejudice, and hatred once and for all. What do each of you feel that you can contribute in the city of Peekskill to ensure that this infestation does not filter into the city of Peekskill? And if it's here, get rid of it. I will start with, let's be out. Okay, let's go with Mr. Fernandez.
I can start. Yeah, the first thing, you cannot fight against to the hatred with hate. We need to build relationship in between the entire community, and that's what we started to do through the Peekskill Hispanic Community Organization, to the Peekskill Hispanic Community Group on Facebook. Sometimes when I start to be following many of the Facebook group here, you can see a lot of hate opinion about the immigrants, about the many kind of things, about the people of colors. Sometimes they do it like a soft comment. They don't do it sometimes directly. But there are people, and you can identify that kind of group. They start to say something here, and maybe, I don't know, they can talk about the language, like a Spanish. Why they doing translation? Why is it a requirement to be bilingual to get a job? Why it's another kind of thing, and then you start to bring out many about the feel of the people, and then you can create that kind. It's like when you're talking about the snowball, some people just drop it and then come and go, grow. That kind of grew started there. So we start to work in that kind of thing and stop it and say the truth and show how there's a very huge diversity community here. And I don't talk about the Hispanic only. I talk about everyone from Africa, from Jamaica, from everywhere that we have it here, and show the positive that each community has. So I think that's the key and the way that we have to work. Thank you.
Okay. Let's argue.
So, I mean, all the issues we've talked about today and more, I mean, between environment and sustainability, housing, economic development, we all have different needs, and I believe that all these needs and issues intersect, and we need to start from that intersection. We need to grow from there. We need to meet in a place where we can all agree that we all need to meet our basic needs. We want to feed our children. We want them to have a good education. We want to have a thriving local economy. We want to have walkable streets, a place where we feel that we can call our home. I think that by finding the things that bring us together, that make us all these similarities, I think starting there is very helpful. And I think that also building these coalitions with all these different communities and organizations that are doing amazing things here in Peekskill, building coalitions and then also bringing them to the table as far as decision making for the governing process here in Peekskill would also it would bring the kind of unity and inclusivity that I believe we really need. And I think that, several weeks back, I think that our mayor has been very divisive. He's used very divisive language with an occurrence that happened, a violent occurrence. And I don't think that is helpful. I don't think that it's progressive. I don't think that it's moving us in the direction that we need to be. And I think that these are the kind of things that we need to get rid of. I think that we need to build together as one Peekskill to find the kind of solutions that we feel will bring us the vision of Peekskill that we all truly want. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Smith.
It's a great question, Mr. Aldridge. I agree with what my running mate said, and I will just add simply that I believe that true leadership unites; it does not divide. I think that working with organizations like the Peekskill chapter of the NAACP, our local faith organizations, our school districts, to encourage and foster discussion about ideas rather than simply arguing back and forth all the time, to place a value, to discuss diversity, to value diversity, and to really find a way to help us as community members be able to communicate with one another as opposed to just always arguing with one another. We live in a very diverse community, and the tone is set at the top, not just in the city, but at the top of our faith organizations, in the school district, our leaders in business. I think we all play a role in this, and the responsibility falls upon us as citizens to listen to the other. What we saw in Charlottesville were two very different sides of two very opposite sides of a very painful and deep-rooted issues. And there's always going to be these types of issues. We're going to have to face them no matter which community you go into. And sometimes a place like the diversity of a city like Peekskill lends itself to really highlighting some of these differences and some of these issues. So as city leaders, as community leaders, we have to set the tone, and we have to encourage people and really demand that our other, our elected officials and other officials show that same respect for one another that is really accorded to everyone, and to be able to really move forward in a thoughtful, conscientious, and respectful manner.
Thank you. I will give each of you 1 minute to indicate why the people in this audience should vote for you. Each of you have agreed on many issues. What is your difference? Why should we vote for you? Your other candidates aren't here. Yes, no, start with Mr. Smith.
Could you just repeat that? Just closing? Okay. So thank you for coming out today, for giving us an opportunity to speak with you all. I trust that what you've heard from me today will encourage you to vote for me, to support me on Tuesday, as well as this coming Tuesday, as well as in the general election. If I'm elected to the Common Council, I will continue, as I've done on the school board, to work for families, to work for our young people, to work to ensure that Peekskill continues to move forward, whether it's in growing our businesses, developing our business diversity and economic opportunity for our residents, whether it's in helping to continue to provide more better affordable housing for those in need, to continue to find better ways to improve our services for our seniors, and to also provide leadership that is transparent, that is accountable, and that is, at the end of the day, that is what Peekskill needs and deserves. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for giving me the opportunity to be here to listen to us, the NAACP. And if the Peekskill resident given the opportunity to represent them, I will be there to try to be a voice for everyone. I'm not gonna be a simple official elector to go there every Monday from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. I will try to be a community services like I did it for all my years here. I plan to live here in Peekskill. I want my younger daughter grow up here in Peekskill. And if I want something good for her, for my other kids, I wanted that good thing for everyone here in Peekskill. My mother is a Peekskill resident senior citizen. I want it for her and for everyone, single senior citizen here. That's why that I'm running. That's what I expect that you vote for me next Tuesday in the primary. Thank you.
So we're all sitting here because we're facing some troublesome times on many levels, whether it's national, state, or local. And I'm sitting in this seat because I want to advocate for my community. I'm not here to push my own agenda. I'm here to listen to you all, to collaborate, to understand what your needs are and to fill them, and to constantly be conscious of our demographics and the growth and push forward that growth so we're moving in a positive direction. And I hope that what you've heard from us today will convince you that we are the right choice on Tuesday for the primary. And it's not just me. You can't, I want you all to vote for me, but I need you all to vote for my partners, because we all have such experience in different levels of expertise. We bring so much to the table that I honestly think could really make this one Peekskill. So I hope you can all come out to vote Tuesday on the primary, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your candor. Thank you, audience, for your cooperation. This will conclude this session. I believe the president of the NAACP branch, Peekskill branch, has something he wants to say. And we will begin our next session in 10 minutes after you hear from the president.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. I got to say a couple of words because of what we're looking at today. I want to thank you for being here and sharing with us. I think you had said something, Mr. Smith, about respecting the process. We have to respect the process in this democracy. You have to show up whether you want to be there or not. You cannot pick and choose where you want to go and where you don't want to go, because if you do that now, what are you going to do when you're in office? It's not easy doing what they're doing. It's not easy leading, period, because there's going to be times when you're not comfortable. But courage dictates that you have to step up and do your best, regardless. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. And I encourage you all to go out and vote. Vote your conscience. Hold people accountable, because what we do in the NAACP, probably what we do best, is we vote. Stay woke. Complain out loud, and your voice matters and your vote counts. Get out there, vote, and encourage others to do the same. And lastly, I cannot stand up here and be in front of this microphone and not thank, first of all, the candidates for being here. Thank you for being here. Greatly appreciate it. Our moderator, the regional director, Wilbur Aldridge, thank you for being here. Fantastic job. And my honor, my pleasure, my opportunity, my privilege of being the president of this branch is being able to work with tremendous people like our Civic Engagement Committee, led by Gary Kilowan, Madeline Bass, and all the other people connected to it. Thank you all for being here. Fantastic job. Vote on the 12th. Thank you.